The very first episode of Let's Get Into It with Lachey. My name is Zaria Lachey.
My name is Essence Lachey.
And girl, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Today's topic will be about moving on. Now, I know for those out there, like, moving on can be a lie. You know what I mean? How do you navigate that? What do you do? Well, we got to get into it. I feel like for me, the thoughts on moving on, I feel like the first thing for me that comes to mind is just like, how?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, how do I do this, like, effectively? Like, how do I do this with, like, still having peace? And I don't even mean a sense of, like, of course you're going to be sad to move on. I don't even think that's a situation where it could just be like, oh, whatever. Unless this person is just, like, I don't know, beating on you or something. Besides that, it's kind of like, how do you move on and still have your peace while moving on? I feel like that's my biggest thing. Not being okay with moving on, but having peace about it. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
I think right now in my journey of moving forward and moving on, for me, the biggest thing about like having peace with it, for me, being realistic and being honest with myself about it. Because you know this, and I'll fill y'all in on a little bit about me. I don't really like emotions. I have them. I have strong emotions.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that about me. But I personally just would rather not do it. I'd rather it not be a thing. Like, I'd rather it not exist. So, dealing with moving on has been, like, interesting for me in the beginning. Because it's just, if you just suppress your emotions and act like they don't exist, you're not really moving on.
That's
you're moving,
true. But
are you moving on? Because it's still there. You're not acting on anything. You're not talking about it, but have you moved on?
Interesting. I think for me, I struggle with moving on just because it's like, if I even gave you my time to begin with, that just shows the amount of like love that I have for you, or just like vibe or friendship, because like I don't just extend that to anybody. So I feel like for my personality, because I'm not just so giving with my time or my love, if I give you that, I feel some type of way about that. And sometimes it's like we have to understand that we don't own people, regardless of what we feel that we give to them or how we feel they should treat us, because we would treat them this certain way. Everybody is not like you. And then you have to also be very clear with everything that you've done as well, because sometimes we don't take ownership in our actions and situations of why it didn't go the way that we wanted to or whatever. You can't tell somebody how they're going to be when you weren't the best either. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned is like, sometimes like what's done to you can come back on you, and it could come back 10 times harder. Oftentimes we think that, at least in my opinion, like, well, I didn't do that much, so this is not justified. But it's like, you can't tell somebody how they get their get back type. You know what I mean? It's like, that's how they operate. That's it. Also being very clear of like, were you actually even really meant to be with this person? Or is it something that you just was comfortable in, so now you're kind of just forcing it to be something that it's not? Because when you do that, it shows that it's not to be. You get what I mean? It's like, a situation shouldn't be that much where you can't move on. I feel like most situations should be of like, we equally agree this ain't working out.
Yeah.
And we just have to go our separate ways. You get what I mean? Because there's peace in that.
Exactly.
If oftentimes it's like that one person did something or the other person did something, so now this is why we separate. There's no peace in that, because your intentions were never for it to end.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's the biggest thing of why it's so hard to move on, is because oftentimes parties don't have the maturity to just say, you know what, this ain't. You know, I can't give you what you need, you can't give me what I need, or I offended you in this way. You know what, I understand, we just gotta. But sometimes people just violate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, well, okay, how do I then deal with this now?
It's because people are emotional and they act off of emotion, like with hurt. For example, if you trying to move on in the moment of something that, like you said, like a lot of times people don't just walk away because like this is not working.
Yeah.
Let's just God bless you.
Exactly.
If something happened, this happened. All right, I'm moving on. I'm walking away from you because that was disrespectful to me, and I will not be disrespected. But when doing that, if it halts in the middle, it's like, hold on, I'm walking away because I feel disrespected, but I'm confused now.
Yeah.
So like, what was my original thought? It was like with moving on and how people act in emotion. Like the other party, they feel away because you left them, so they. What? Like that what?
Okay, girl. Continue.
Because we can get into it.
No, I don't know if we need to get into it. I don't know. I got another podcast to get into it. But I don't know if we need to like expose people. If you want to, if you feel convicted, led.
You had a thought. You
No, I just thought that was funny. You know why I thought that was funny. That's not my business to tell, baby.
And it was not about me. It's about another party. Just want to make that specific.
Clear.
Very clear. We get into it later. We're going to get into it later.
I mean, there's so many more episodes.
There's so many more episodes, and we will get into it.
Tune in, y'all. Tune in.
But yeah, like they act on emotions. They may feel away because you may not have given them another chance. So they act in this way, and then it's causing you to act another way in the process of moving on. And it's like I feel like the key with moving on, you kind of have to take a little bit of emotion out of it.
Yeah.
You do, because like if you acting on emotion, that's so fickle. You could feel one way this
and
day.
that is so true. And that's the problem. Just going back on what you're saying, it's like if you deal with out of like emotion instead of like how Zaria something like dealing with like facts. Because if you deal with the facts, you're able to more control the emotion as far as like, you know what, yes, I am feeling like this, and that's okay to have this feeling, but I'm not going to act on this feeling because now I'm going against facts, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm going against the reality of the situation instead of like what is facts, you know what I mean? Like what is going on. And like you said, your feelings can change. Today at 10 o'clock, I felt this way. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I feel a totally different way. You get what I mean?
And that's what makes moving on hard, because it's hard to just take the emotion out of it. And
very hard.
When you do take the emotion out of it and you make a decision, you know, a fact-based decision, emotion still exists. Even though you take the emotion out of the decision, you still feel how you feel. But that's why you gotta just hold on to fact, which makes moving on hard. It's not an easy process.
It's not.
No.
I don't necessarily think it's supposed to be easy, and I also feel like we sometimes don't understand the amount of growth that we're going to go into by removing ourselves for something. And today, when we went to church, the pastor was speaking on that, like, you have to be able to elevate. Sometimes God has to separate from you, from these people. And if they're meant to be, they're meant to be. But you're not even where you're supposed to be yet to be able to even operate with those who you're trying to actually be with. But you have to understand that God has called you to somewhere greater. It don't matter what in your life. And what's really been on my heart lately was just like, I can't even give you the desires of your heart because you won't even know how to handle them. You're not even going to be able to really like fulfill the purpose of these things that I'm going to give to you. You get what I mean? So it's like, if I'm not even at that place in my life where I can even handle this, because think about it, like, and it's kind of going off topic, but sometimes we're not able to move on is because we don't see nothing better in the future.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, you're not going to get any better if you're not able to move on.
Another thing that the pastor was talking about today, who's in your circle, who's around you right now. Can they go to where you're trying to go?
Yeah.
And that's like, when it comes to moving on, it may be hard, but that's something that you got to realize. If God removes somebody out of your life, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
They weren't there. Are they edifying? Are they filling you up with anything?
Yeah, for sure.
Are they taking you away from something?
Come on now.
So
yeah. It's important to move on. I think it is, because the biggest thing is that I've learned just by just watching, you know, just like certain like famous couples and stuff like that, it's like when they met the person that was for them or whatever, they were living in their purpose.
Mhm.
I honestly believe that if you're walking in what God has for you fully, not partially, fully, you're going to get what you want and what you desire because it's aligned with God's plan.
Mhm.
And oftentimes, the reason why it ended because it wasn't aligned
Yeah,
with
and it
God's
wasn't
plan.
supposed to.
It wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
God allowed it for a moment.
He
Yeah,
allowed
I let you
it.
have your
I let
moment.
you have your moment.
But it's been a little too far. It's time to wrap this thing
It's
on up.
time to wrap it up.
Because I got somewhere I need you to go.
And that leads into our next like little segment
Mhm.
topic kind of situation. What are your thoughts on the spinning the block culture?
Okay, off jump, I would say no. If you would have asked me this any other time, maybe a year ago, I don't like the whole spinning the block. I feel like it ended for a reason. It ended. It's done. But then when you bring connection, you had a connection with this person. Y'all enjoyed yourself. You had time spent, communication, whatever. You know, your bond with that person. You can miss that. So I'm like, sometimes you be like, well, maybe not in the same fashion that it was before. Maybe, you know, just every now and then we talk or whatever. That's not really moving on. Because it's like you're still holding on to a piece of that person, which is like it's pulling you halfway in. Like you in and out, like you get in the back of your mind, I'm moving on, but then you still kind of around them. You're not moving on. You're still with them.
Yeah.
It's just, it confuses your brain.
Yeah.
And then that third time about let's try again, let's just start over, everything's on the table. That can work if it's meant to be.
Yeah.
If everything,
Yeah.
and even if it's not meant to be, and it's like for a season, like that can work and we cool with it, this and that, we gonna have fun. And then even if it went left the second time, in order for that to be a thing, everything would have to have been on the table. Everything would have to have been talked about. You can't go in there with any hidden animosity, any because it's just gonna be bad. And it's like, what's the point?
Do you think that in order to spin the block efficiently, effectively, that they would have had a certain amount of time of separation?
I think it depends, because some people it could be time like we needed to be apart, we needed to grow, and whatever brought us back together, we got back together, and it's fine now. We learned what we need to learn. We're better people for each other. That happened, and then also sometimes time could do it bad. It could just, it's not the
I think
same.
it's situation based because it depends on just the whole history of the relationship and how that all even came to be. But I definitely feel like you can spin the block, but it has to be a certain way. I feel like we can't come back the same way that we ended, because if that is the case, then we shouldn't be back together.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we need to come back better and stronger if we are, but I really don't recommend it just because I feel like people are not going into it with that intention.
Yeah.
People are going into more of like, this is comfortable. I know you. The streets is looking, all right, I'm going to just go back to the guy I know. Going on from that, let's talk about accepting how you feel about like the departure, the breakup, and what does moving on look like?
That's the key to moving on, accepting how you feel, because it's like you can't move on effectively to talk to somebody else or even explore something else if you still holding on to,
especially for
hurt.
women.
Yeah, like if you holding
Especially
on to that hurt from that other person and then you still kind of like miss that other person, it's too much. Like I'll give you just a personal example. I was talking to this one boy, right? We had, and I was just so keen on moving on, like, I feel like you disrespected me, so you just, But that's not real moving on, it's kind of just suppression. And I was just like, okay, well, this other person, he wants to take me out, go get something to eat, like, right after. That's why I'm like, the day 13, like, that was no time.
Yeah.
Did you move on? I didn't, and so I was just like, all right, let's go hang out. And the dude was nice. He took me out to dinner, we ate, we went and played some mini golf. But I just was like,
yeah, he probably gonna do like,
I ended up blocking him on social media because I ghosted him. And
okay.
Sorry. I just I have that bad. I have to stop ghosting people. Anyways, I guess that goes a part of my toxic trait. Maybe we'll talk about that one time. Anyway, yeah.
That's a good conversation.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Anyways, I wasn't moved on. Like, I didn't move on from that other person.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for parts of him
Mm.
in this new guy. But since I hadn't moved on, I wasn't
Yeah.
able to just... Because the dude who took me out was real nice. He was real cool. I feel
Yeah.
bad. He was really sweet. He knew the
Yeah.
Lord.
Oh,
Hallelujah.
he did.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that.
I just didn't like him because he wasn't so-and-so. But I hadn't moved on, so like, I'm looking for so-and-so.
That's a key.
Yeah,
That's
very
a tidbit and probably a conversation for another day. But just how, as Christian women navigating life, that knowing the Lord is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we
Mhm.
have to have
Exactly.
some type of connection.
Exactly.
I have to like you.
I have to like you, like,
Because
this
that's the standard, and we have to start understanding that. Knowing
Yeah.
the Lord
is
is
the bare
the
minimum.
standard. Like,
Just for me
that,
to talk to you.
that's not even
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
You should know.
That's first step.
You know.
Now what else?
Exactly.
And the what else I didn't like.
Yeah.
But also, like, obviously I just didn't like it, but the key part was I was looking for so-and-so because I hadn't moved on.
Yeah.
Because I was suppressing my emotions at that time. I
This
was
is like from a friend tidbit. I feel like so and so. I feel like he really is your type.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes it harder, yeah.
So it does kind of make it harder because it's like you do like a certain type of guy. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
That's the acceptance in that. Like,
And I had to
you
accept
like
that.
a certain type of guy, and that's just the reality. But oftentimes, it's like, but what if that's not the type of guy that God is sending to you? Now, and somebody else I know that we both know, I'm not gonna say her name, but she talked about that, and we can talk about that offline. She talked about that, like how her boyfriend is not necessarily the type that she was just, looking for, but they mesh well, they great, like he loves her, she loves him, you know what I mean? But that's really not her typical type. And she was talking about sometimes we do sleep on those men who are willing to, treat us right and court us and all that because they don't fit what we say our type is.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot in younger
Yeah.
women. And sometimes when they get older, they were like, "Ooh, there's this guy when I was 22." You know what I mean?
So that's
Like, and I missed out on him because of my foolish ways.
That's another part of moving on, being able to be like, okay, I moved on for this, and now I'm open to whoever God has for me, not just you or somebody
Yeah.
like you. Now, am I there yet? I don't know, because I do.
It's okay to have your
You know,
preference,
like,
your time.
when I'm saying type, I'm not even talking about physical. Like, there's just certain about that person's
mannerisms,
presence, and
you know what I mean?
that I prefer.
Yeah. The topic was accepting departure and moving on. I think that I don't want to accept that. I think that's what I struggle with more than like suppressing my feelings. I don't even get to a part to suppress because I don't even want to move on.
Got you.
And even in my moving on process, it's more of like I may just have a lot going on. Like, you know what I mean? So even in the months that I, didn't talk to, I have stuff to do. You know what I mean? Like I was busy and I kind of in my mind kind of just let's move on, and I tried that. The whole it doesn't exist. Let's just move on. Figure out your own personal life. And that's cool for a while, especially when you're not in the same city.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. You know what I mean? But what happens when you are in environments where this person is now accessible? What happens into environments where you maybe are a little bit more vulnerable? You're not on the same, like, I'm moving on. You know what I mean? I think that's my biggest thing. I'm very much a person that can start something. It's very hard for me to continue and finish. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned, even being a part of organizations, is like, you've committed to this. So regardless of how you feel, you have to move on. It's not a choice. And I think that's the biggest thing. I give myself so many options, and I allow myself to kind of just do what I want to do because it makes me feel okay and I'm all right, that I'm not even able to move forward because I don't even have the discipline to say, this is no longer. This is not accessible.
Yeah.
You don't have access to
And
it.
for me, I'm the opposite. I'm quick to deny myself, but still want to. And that's where my key thing with moving on is being like, okay, don't just say that this is not something that you would like or that I'm quick to be like, who is he? I don't care about him.
Right.
Who is he? But that's not true. On the inside, I'm like, dang, thinking about it. And like, of course, I'm never going to allow myself to go back in that position because I genuinely feel like if you disrespect me, that I have to walk away.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go back there, but I'm not going to be able to move on if I don't accept the fact, like, hey, no, you do miss him. What he did was wrong. You're not going to go back because of your personal beliefs, and you're not going to do that to yourself. But it's okay that you miss him.
And I think you have more of like you're in denial. And I lack self-denial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that was
It's like you're in denial, and I lack self-denial. I don't want to deny self.
Perspective.
You know what I mean?
I think we give each other
I
great
do
perspective
too.
because it's like you be like, Zaria, yeah, you miss him. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
This thing of why I can give Zaria that typical advice because it's like, particular advice is because I understand your personality. And I understand that you do suppress a lot of your emotions to where you make it seem as if it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean? It's like, no, it exists and we have to acknowledge that just to move forward. But I have enough, like, understanding of your personality that even if that's so, you're not gonna go
back. Like you don't feel
so
like
you're able to live in that because you're not gonna go back. The problem with me is I can't live in that because I'm thinking, all right, well,
okay, let me call him up.
And
for me as a friend talking to you, I like to let you know, like, okay.
Yeah.
But no. Like, but no. Like, nice. I hear you, that's true. But no, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go back there because it's gonna drag us down. We're gonna go back into that whole process and do this all over again.
Yeah, I think you kind of see the foresight of kind of like what a parent does. It's like a parent understands, okay, and I would love that to be the case for you, but it's just not.
Yeah.
And we just have to accept what is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not be, sometimes I am in denial, switching roles, and like, well, I'm not really seeing like, well, that I can be. No, you can't. You just have to let it go. Forget insanity.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing here? Like, we genuinely, you know what I mean, have to move on. And we're going to move on. To the next topic, because we can go on and on.
Literally could.
Is time a thing when it comes to moving on? And is communication a thing when it comes to moving on?
That's a good question because I'm learning in this journey of my life as I learn and grow. And like I said, I'm the person who would like, not only do I suppress emotions, I would like it for it to not even exist, for me to suppress. Like, I don't want it to be a thing. So I'm like, for me, when that situation first happened, like, I give dates for a particular reason. It happened in May. By July, it shouldn't be a thing. Who are you? You don't exist. But it's like, time is kind of relative. And like,
it is.
Yeah, because I'm like, too much for me, it seemed like a lot of time, but it's like, that's not really a lot of time when you think about how much time you spent with that person.
No.
And everyone has told me this.
Yeah.
And everybody has. But I didn't even talk to my mom, and she was like, you met him almost a year ago. That's a lot of time. And like, we did used to communicate on a daily, everyday basis from like last August when that happened.
Yeah.
To just a jolt of no communication in May. So that was tripping my brain out because if I feel like you disrespected me and I don't like what you've done, I don't want to miss you. But I do have to give myself time to move forward.
And I feel like the biggest thing for you is accepting that your feelings, and this is the biggest thing that I've been trying to get to across to you, your feelings has nothing to do with the other person and what they've done to you. Your feelings are your feelings regardless. And I feel like because you kind of want to be somewhat like upset with them or mad with them and kind of like punish you for what you've done to me, you don't even allow yourself to be sad or like, no, this really hurt me, or because it's like, no, he don't even deserve for him to even think that I would be sad. He ain't thinking nothing. He don't know. He ain't here. He ain't with you. You with your own thoughts. Allow yourself to have that without thinking, he's just gonna think I'm weak. Like, is he here in your house?
You don't know.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, these are true feelings that you have, and it's okay to express them and get them out. It's like, okay, I had a moment. I cried. I was sad. now moving on. Because
Mhm.
the healing process is a lot. It's a lot to
Takes
move
time.
forward. It takes time. It's not just a overnight. That's what I be thinking. Just change
That's what I'm
overnight.
wondering.
Blah blah blah. No, that's illusion. For our little final segment, we're gonna be playing Keep It Cute or
Keep it 100.
okay. So for our first hypothetical, say for instance we're dating or talking to a guy for about a year, and you guys broke things off. You haven't talked to him in about 2 months, and then he hits you up with the, "Hey, how you doing?"
Now you want me to keep it cute, or you want me to keep it 100?
I want you to keep it 100.
Oh, not keep it cute.
Keep
Okay.
it 100.
Keep it 100. I'm gonna see that and be like, there's two sides to this. Now, for me, if I moved on and like I moved on, I'm not responding. There's literally nothing you can say. No, literally, there's nothing you can say. I would look at it. Honestly, I probably wouldn't receive it because you would be blocked. I'm a blocker. If I have moved on and I'm like, there's literally nothing you can say to me, I'm gonna block you. But if you're unblocked and I see that message, I'm gonna be like, why'd you do that? Let me see. I'm gonna respond. I'll be like, hey, and go from there. Why you laugh like that?
Better than me.
What you gonna do?
I haven't heard from you
Oh yeah.
in 2 months, and you hit me with, "Hey, how you doing?" You wouldn't know, sir, because we haven't talked in 2 months. Not very much. Let's talk.
I just play it cool.
You
I just be
know.
like, hey, what's up?
But like I said before, I have to get to the point of truly moving on to even answer that question.
Yeah.
Because I also do agree, like, if you've moved on, it's kind of like, what do you want?
Yeah,
It's
that's
weird.
So I block
like,
you. Yeah, just gonna get to the nitty gritty.
Excuse me?
We be playing around. It just like beat around the bush, have random casual conversation. But then there's
Weirdos.
yes, because it's annoying.
But it's y'all.
Well, it's nothing.
Well, it's not. Well,
nothing
yeah,
yet.
it
'Cause
was.
I moved on. I'm moving on. Hey, Jonathan and Reynolds, I love that song. Anyways, but yeah.
Okay, let's get into our next hypothetical. Your friend has been talking or dating a guy on and off for about 3 years now. What advice would you give to your friend, like, about moving on, or like, what should she do? Like, should she keep messing with this guy on and off? Should she not? Like, what's up?
All right, it's been 3 years.
It's been
and
3 years.
on and off. I could keep it cute, but I'm gonna keep it 100. It's
Ooh,
gotta
she
stop.
chose it first.
It gotta stop. Like, no, 3 years in the game of just on and off. You have not moved on, and why haven't you moved on? Because you keep going back and forth to him. So you're not moving on. You're not exploring meeting anybody else. You may have met other people, but it's like you're not able to really fully give yourself to that new situation because you got that in the back of your mind, and I got history on it. So it's just like too much. Girl, move on is what I would say. I'd be like, girl, I love you, and like I've been rocking with you. I've been chilling with you. But it's like this is the 3rd year. Let's say his name is Drake. Drake gotta go. Drake gotta go because he's not getting any better, and like it's a constant up down. 3 years. That's too much. What you would say?
I would say at this point, you guys both have shown each other your true colors at this point. Or not even your true colors, but your true intentions. And at this point, there's no need to continue. Words have been said, things have been discussed. What is there else to say? You get what I mean? Like, I have a life to live. Like, think about it. 3 years is a long time. And even if you do have this, like, strong attachment or just whatever, history, you know what I mean? If it's no longer serving you, you have to walk away. So move on, baby. Because you're going to regret it. That's the biggest thing. You're going to regret it. Also, and oftentimes, sometimes when people keep repeating that lessons, they're not even able to even go into a healthy relationship because they got so much damage and baggage from the past now you can't even have what you truly desired and were worthy of having, because now you don't even have nothing.
Yeah, and
you
I
don't
feel
have
like
nothing for yourself.
you learned so much, but did you receive it?
Yeah.
It's like you keep going, you seeing it, but you're not taking it in.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you move on in that situation? You're not moving on. You're
Yeah.
stuck. You're stagnant.
Yeah.
And like you said, with the God aspect, that's not what God has for you.
Mm-mm.
There's no way. God loves you too much for you to be stuck in that situation. He wants to bring you out, and He'll present stuff to you. Oftentimes, like you said once before, we had an offline conversation about certain things happen because that thing needed to be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't gonna be just sweet ride and just no. This needed to happen. You needed to see this, but you're choosing to keep staying and keep staying. It's nothing I can do. My hands are off of it.
Free will.
Yeah, free will. My hands are off of it.
Yeah.
So our recommendation is, friend, move on.
Move on.
We love you.
So
this was fun.
This was fun, guys. This was our very first podcast, and it's like, you know, I found this very like therapy.
Oh.
Like, you know what I mean by that is, it was like you're able to just kind of like just say your thoughts,
Yeah.
very authentically,
Yeah.
and then find a solution.
Yeah.
So as I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Same.
So it's like we're able to just, you know, and also fun, like a girl
Yeah.
talk, like with y'all.
We got
like,
into it.
We got into it. So it's like, this was just a fun episode.
Yes, it was. I hope y'all enjoyed this.
Yes.
Stay tuned. Come back for our next episode. And that's all for it. Let's get into it. We out.